In the city of Velmont, where jazz played in smoky clubs and secrets whispered through the streets, lived a woman named Celeste Beaufort. Celeste was the most admired woman in the city. She was beautiful, so beautiful that people stopped in their tracks when she passed. Her voice was soft like music, her laughter like silver bells. Every man wanted to be near her. Every woman wanted to be her. But Celeste had a secret. She had never seen her own face. Not once in her 25 years. Mirrors refused to show her. Whenever she looked into one, all she saw was a blank, empty surface. She tried everything: silver mirrors, glass mirrors, even still pond water. Nothing. The world adored her, but she had no idea who she really was. One evening, after another long night at a party where people loved her but never truly knew her, she found herself alone with Madame Lark, an old fortune-teller with dark eyes full of knowing. "You are not real," Madame Lark said. "You are a curse wearing the shape of a woman." Celeste's breath caught. "A curse?" The old woman nodded. "Your beauty, your charm, it was not given by nature. It was placed upon you, a spell cast when you were a child." Celeste's hands trembled. "Who would do that?" Madame Lark smiled sadly. "Your own mother." Celeste's mother had been a desperate woman, afraid her daughter would grow up unnoticed, unloved. So she went to a sorcerer and made a wish. "Make my daughter perfect. Make her unforgettable. Make her the most beautiful woman in Velmont." The sorcerer had granted her wish, but there was a price. Celeste would be adored by all, but never known. She would be seen everywhere, except by herself. She would exist, but only through the eyes of others. Madame Lark sighed. "You are a glass woman, Celeste. Smooth, flawless, empty. And if you wish to break the curse, you must find the mirror of truth." The mirror of truth was hidden in the abandoned Beaumont Opera House, a place so haunted that the city had sealed it shut for 13 years. Celeste knew she couldn't get inside alone. She needed someone who knew how to open locked doors. She found him in a dimly lit jazz club. His name was Victor Leroux, a master thief with a grin sharp as a knife. "You want inside the opera house?" Victor chuckled. "That's a death trap, darling." "Can you open it or not?" Celeste asked. Victor leaned closer. "I can, but nothing in the city comes for free. What will you give me in return?" Celeste swallowed. "Name your price." Victor smirked. "A favor? One day I'll come to you, and you won't say no." Celeste didn't like the sound of that, but she had no choice. "Fine," she said. That night they stood before the massive double doors of the opera house. The wood was old, cracked, but the seals carved into it were fresh. "This place wasn't just locked," Victor murmured. "It was caged." He pulled out a thin silver blade. "It won't open with a key," he said. "It needs a sacrifice." Celeste frowned. "What kind of sacrifice?" Victor handed her the knife. "It needs to taste your blood." Celeste hesitated. Her whole life she had never bled, never bruised. She was too perfect, too untouchable. She pressed the blade to her palm. A single drop of blood hit the door. The doors swung open. Inside, the opera house was frozen in time. Dust-covered chandeliers, rows of empty seats. The air smelled like smoke, like something had burned long ago. And at the center of the stage stood a mirror as tall as a man, framed in silver, the mirror of truth. Celeste stepped forward. Her hands trembled. She had dreamed of this moment for years. She took a deep breath and looked into the mirror. For the first time in her life, she saw herself, but she was not beautiful. Her skin was cracked like porcelain. Her eyes were sunken, exhausted. Her lips were tired from endless smiles. She looked broken. Celeste stumbled back, her breath shaking. This isn't me. But it was. For years, she had worn a perfect mask. Now the mirror showed the truth. She was not untouchable. She was not flawless. She was human. A sob escaped her throat. She had spent her whole life trying to be what others wanted. But who was she? Tears ran down her cheeks. Real human tears. And as she cried, the cracks in the mirror began to spread. Until the mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces. The curse was broken. When Celeste left the opera house, the city felt different. She no longer turned heads. No one gasped in admiration. No one whispered her name. For the first time, she was just another face in the crowd. And for the first time, she felt free. She walked past a shop window and caught her own reflection. She smiled, not because others were looking, not because she had to, but because she finally saw herself. And she loved who she saw. She passed the cafe where men used to rise from their seats just to greet her. Now, they sipped their coffee, lost in their own conversations. She stepped onto the cobblestone street, feeling the uneven stones beneath her feet, not as a stage to be admired upon, but as something solid, real, grounding. For the first time, she noticed the weight of her own body, the steady rhythm of her breath, the quiet strength in her limbs. She lifted a hand and ran her fingers through her hair, expecting the smooth, silken strands she had always been told she had. But instead, she felt something different, a slight dryness, a few tangled ends, uneven strands that didn't fall perfectly into place. And yet, for the first time, it didn't matter. It wasn't flawless, but it was hers, and that made it beautiful. But some debts are never truly erased. Some promises linger in the shadows, waiting to be fulfilled. And one day, when Celeste least expects it, Victor Leroux will return to collect. What do you think he will ask of her? Will it be a favor she can accept, or will it be a price too high to pay? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your theories. Celeste's story teaches us something powerful. Love is not about how others see you. It is about how you see yourself. She spent her life in a reflection that wasn't real. Adored, admired, untouchable. But in the end, it wasn't admiration that made her whole. It was the moment she looked in the mirror and finally saw herself. Because true beauty is not found in perfection. It is found in the courage to be real, to stand in front of your own reflection and say, "This is me, and I am enough."